All right. Well, it is 2 o'clock, so let's get started with our next episode, getting to know ArcGIS Online. So this time we are talking about story maps. So everybody, thank you again for joining in. So for this one, I've made a couple of story maps, and obviously I put this training together, but I know that perhaps some of you also have quite a bit of experience with story maps. So if at any time you feel like you have some good tips, or you feel like you can add something to this training, so tips or additional sort of things you can do, please feel free to speak up and share what you know. We are going to make a couple of different story maps. We won't have a chance to go through every single template that's out there, but once you have done a couple, I think it's not that hard to figure all of them out. So let's first get started, and I'm not sure if there is a chat that came in. Oh no, I must have missed that. Okay. So I know I've shown you the next two slides a couple of times already, but I think it's good to just kind of start out grounded, like really how a web map is basically the basic building block of all the different apps that we are talking about, like I've talked about in the past and are also still talking about a couple in the future. So the web map, as you can see right here, contains different layers. And so on the left-hand side, you can see there are two layers, one for food establishment inspections and just the establishments. And so this is the place where you design your map. This is where you add layers, remove layers, you figure out the different symbols that go on your map. You pick your default base map, your symbols, and much more. This is where you set it up. And so on this map appear a number of layers. And so, for example, this one here has two layers that we just talked about. And for each one of them, you can open up a table and just see, in this case, all the different establishments where you can go and eat. All right. And so the web maps form the foundation of web apps, and really our story map is a web app. And so some of them is basically just a web map with bells and whistles that turn it into a story. Some story maps are just a collection of different maps and other media. But a web map is basically the foundation, including for story maps. All right. So with that, I think we are ready to get started. So I'll stop my presentation for now, and the next 2 hours will be a lot of hands-on. I don't have a lot of slides with background information. I sent out the workbook this morning, so hopefully you all got that. And our first step will be to log in to ArcGIS Online, www.arcgis.com, and sign in using your username and password, which luckily mine is already pre-filled. And then I'll just go ahead and sign in. Okay. So from here on, let's build a map that can form the foundation of our first story map. And just to make it easy, let me see here. Let's click on Add. We'll start browsing the Living Atlas. That's the easiest way to do it during those classes. And I know we've done the earthquakes last time, but let's just stick with that. So type in recent earthquakes. And we'll just add in this latest layer. So once I click the plus, I can go back and I can see them in my contents. Now, to really make those points stand out, I'd like to change my base map to something a little bit more neutral. And I have found that this dark gray canvas does a really good job making those points stand out. And you can see that this data set essentially covers the entire world. Okay, so let's go ahead and then save our map. And I'll call it earthquakes. And just so I know why I made this map, I'll just type in that this is for getting started with story maps. Now, since I am, this is not a real product that I want to keep and share, I'd like to put in my tag temp. So when at some point I'm cleaning out my ArcGIS Online, which by the way is not a bad idea, because your maps and data probably don't take up that much space, but your agency is paying for that storage every month. So occasionally it's a good idea to go back and clear that out. Okay, I think for now this is good to go. So let me just go ahead and save this map. Okay, so next I am going to set some bookmarks. So first I'd like to find a place, in this case Indonesia, usually a place in the world where there's quite a bit of activity going on, seismic activity. So I'll just go here and set my first bookmark. To do that, I'll click on bookmarks, add a bookmark, and I will call this one Indonesia. So the reason why I'm going through the trouble to actually set those bookmarks is for the first story map that we are doing. When you add a map to that story map, it actually will preserve all those bookmarks. And so we can basically use that to build a little bit of a tour through the world where you can find different areas that have a lot of seismic activity. So I would also like to create a bookmark for Alaska. And then finally, with all the earthquakes happening here in Idaho, let's also create one for Idaho. So this seems like a good view right here. You can see there's quite a bit going on. I'll hit my bookmark, add a bookmark, and I will call this one Alaska. And then finally, I'm going to zoom to Idaho, and I'll just see if I can, zoom in a little bit into the area where the Stanley area where we have those earthquakes. And I will go ahead and add in my last bookmark. And I'll just call this Stanley, Idaho. Okay, so now we have 3 bookmarks. So with that, let me go ahead and save this map and get into the actual story part of it. So if you had a chance to look through your workbook that I sent out late this morning, early afternoon perhaps, you see that there's a lot of time. A lot of it is, the second chapter, which is the newest story map. And so when you look in your content of your ArcGIS Online, you'll find when you create a story map, it will automatically generate the latest one. If you want to create one of the older ones, and I think there's still good reasons to do that because some of those templates I think are just nicer for certain purposes. It's now officially called a web app, but we'll talk about those as well. Okay, so let's go home. I'll just click here and then I'm going to go to my content. So then I am going to create a story map. So there we go. Now this is the newest, and I think they're moving a lot of items in here that they have. It does have some advantages. And somebody can contradict me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the one that is best designed to work on mobile devices. I know I've worked with some story maps in the past, and they look great on your computer screen, but as soon as you start working on a phone or an iPad, it just doesn't quite look right. I mean, they try a little bit, but it just doesn't look quite right. With this one here, I think this one is the best designed to work well on a mobile device. Okay, so let's go over here and click on Add Cover Image or Video. So another thing that I like about this particular story map is that if you have your own videos, like your own MP4 recordings that you maybe made yourself, you can actually load those up into your story. The other story maps, you are more relying on videos that have been recorded and posted on YouTube, and then you have to just use a link to get them in there. As far as I can tell, this story map, the newest one, is the only one where you can actually load up your own MP4 files. All right, so I think this would be really cool to get a picture of a volcano here. So we need to find a picture of a volcano. So a really good website that I have discovered with royalty-free pictures is called pixie.org. And so while here, I am going to do a search for a volcano and see what we come up with. So I think we should grab like an interesting picture. I like this one a lot. It looks pretty dramatic. And so the way that I have been getting them into my story is, and I think there's obviously different ways of doing it. I mean, there's the free download, but I've just been using the right-click button on my mouse, and then I just save my image. And so let me go to my desktop. I did already create a little folder there for pictures for training. But I guess your challenge is if you're downloading this, just find a spot somewhere on your computer that you remember and that you can get back to later on. So I am just going to call this the volcano. Okay. So that reminds me, I used to teach at Boise State University a long time ago, GIS, and the most common question that I was asked while there is, where are my files? And so make sure you remember where you put stuff. Okay, so let's go back to our story. And now that I have created that picture on my computer, I can go back to my desktop and find my picture and open it up and put it in here. Okay, so when I scroll down, I can just add that in. All right, there we go. Okay, so next we need to add a title and a subtitle. And as I was putting this together, first I thought, oh, I'm going to make a really nice story map with just one theme, which is probably what you want to do because you probably have a very specific purpose in mind. But for training purposes, it ended up going in like different directions. So I decided to call it my first story map. And I'm just going to put in version 2 because putting this training together, I already used up the name. And then really it turned into a complete hodgepodge of different topics. Plus I like the word hodgepodge. All right, here we go. Okay, so I am now at the top of page 6. So let's just go ahead and start telling our story. When you click on the plus, you have the opportunity to choose from different items that you can add to your story. So we'll be going through quite a few of those, not all of them. We'll be doing the text. The button is essentially just what it is. It's a button, but you can link it, for example, to a website. And so then as soon as somebody clicks on that button, then it will go to that website and perform that. The separator is great if you have trouble spacing different things in your story. We'll be working on a map. Images are pretty straightforward. We'll do an image gallery. So we'll go through quite a few of those different items. So the first one, let's put in a slideshow. So those are the immersive ones. This is still in beta. Okay, so then let's add in some media. So in our case, since we've just created a map, let's add that one in. Okay, there we go. Just click on that one. And this is where those bookmarks come in really handy that we set earlier. So when I click on the bookmark tab, you can see that I have my bookmarks right here. So let's click on Indonesia. You can see that my map zooms right there. And then I'll go ahead and I'll place this map. So then as we're doing that, at the bottom here, we're basically starting to form like a collection of slides. And in the end, you'll probably notice that the way that they are presented to you is that people can basically just go back and forth and scroll through those. So for the title, since this is focused on Indonesia, I'll just type in earthquakes in Indonesia. There we go. Okay, so we have 3 bookmarks, so let's create some maps for the other 2. So click on New Slide, and then we'll just bring in the same map. Don't have to, you can bring in different maps. I'll grab the earthquake map again that we just created, go to my bookmarks, and this time I'll head over to Alaska. Now, if you find that this place map is not highlighting in green, I found that the other day. Sometimes when you're too far zoomed out, it might take just a little bit of time before it pops up, or just try zooming in a little bit and then it will show up. So let's place this map, and I'll just call this one Earthquakes in Alaska. All right, and I think you know where we're going. I'll just add in the last one too, the one near Stanley. I'll just add in another map. I'll pick my earthquakes map again. Going to the bookmarks. I'll take the one that takes us a little closer to Stanley, Idaho, and I'll go ahead and place it. Okay, so if we wanted to, we can reorder the way that those slides appear. But let's see what we've done and what it looks like in our real story. So click on Publish along the top. This is also where you could set your sharing level. So I would keep this private. Well, in our case, for sure, because we are, just playing around. And of course, I would also keep this private when you're developing the story, and then, when it's good to go, then you can change the sharing. So go ahead and I'll publish my story. All right. So this is what we've done so far, our first story. And so here we have the earthquakes, and it's those arrows on the side that allows people to go back and forth between them. And of course, you can tell by the dots here that there are 3 slides. Okay, so with that, let's continue editing our story. So click on Edit Story along the top. So with the map that we just created, you can make some more modifications to them as well. So for example, if I wanted to fiddle a little bit more with this earthquakes in Alaska map, I can click on edit. And here in my options section, I can put a search button, or if I wanted to, I can add in a legend. So there's some more customizations that we can do as we go along. So next, let's get a gallery with some pictures. So to do that, let's download a couple of nice pictures. So whatever you like, if there's a place you like, or you know, I'm just gonna search for beaches because they make me happy and I want to go there. So if you have a chance, just go in and just grab, you know, maybe 3 or 4 pictures, click on them, right click them, save image, and then hopefully it will still go back to the same folder that you have set up. And I'll just go ahead and save those. So that's one, and there's the other one. So click on it, make them big, and then save the image. So there's 2. Three. Ooh, that's a nice one. And 4. Okay. So once you got those downloaded, let's go back to our story map and add that in there. So we are ready to add in another section to continue our story. And this time I'd like to put in an image gallery. So from here, we can drag and drop or upload our photos. Let's see here. So I'm going to browse my files. And you know what, I'm just gonna grab everything I have so far. Then from here, I can choose if I want to include all of them, or perhaps if there's one that I do not want to include. And once you have those, you can create your gallery. So again, along the top, there's some options on whether you want to have this look small, medium, large. So when people scroll through, do they take up the whole screen, or is there like white space on either side? Jigsaw, dynamic. So typically in the properties for pictures and items like that, it gives you a chance to put in an alternative text. Quite often, this is for if people cannot actually see the picture, then they could just either read the description. So this is looking good to me. So I'll keep that and save that. I can give it a caption. And then move on. So hopefully you can already tell how easy it is to actually put together some really cool, cool looking websites. So next, let's add in some content that includes both text as well as media. And before we do that, I am curious, and I am at the bottom of page. Let's publish it and just take another look to see what this looks like. So we have our map, and now we have a pretty nice gallery of pictures. Okay, so the next piece that we're putting in is a sidecar. So we'll go back and edit our story. I'll just scroll down to where we left off. And clicking the plus, this time I am going to add in a sidecar. And for now, I will pick the floating panel. Oh, pick the dog panel. That is the top of page 9. And later on, we can always change that if we want to. Okay. So for the text on the left-hand side, let's type in live from the volcano in Geldinja Dalir. I believe that's the volcano on Iceland that has been getting more active lately. And for the media, I think this time it would be really cool to put in a video. And I found a YouTube link, and I put the link just underneath the slide in your PDF document. So hopefully you should be able to copy and paste that. And I'll need to forward my slides a little bit so I can pick that up. Let's see, we are on step 40. And let's add that in. So this is basically just a live camera of that volcano. And you can see the smoke going by. Okay, so in between the text and the video in this case, we can choose to swap the panel placement. So it just flips over to the other side. We can also change the size of those panels, making it bigger and making it smaller. So that obviously depends on how much text you have and how much information that you put in here. If you want it, even here on the side, you can add another video or another picture or more text. So it is really quite flexible. So that is very nice. Okay, so at the bottom, let's go ahead and add in another slide. So that way, at least we can see that if we have multiple slides, how the transition works with those sidecars. So for the next one, let's just grab some media, step 42. So either an image or a video. And just to make it easy, just grab one of the photos that you've already downloaded earlier. So this is where it's turning into a hodgepodge, obviously. But let's pick that one. And let's add in some text with this. So this looks like it is a beach during sunset. That looks like a fabulous place to be. And then finally, let's just add in one more so we can see how it transitioned between 3 slides. So I'll just click on plus, add in another slide. And I'll just go grab another picture. However, you can see we can also add in an embed. So for example, if you have like a dashboard that you would like to put in there, you can just copy and paste that. If you have a website that you would like to put in there, you can try that. It doesn't always work. Some websites don't like to be embedded in another website, but you can try it. Or you can add a swipe, which in essence is pretty cool. What you do is you grab 2 different maps. And what it will do is it will show you those 2 maps side by side as if it were one map. And then you can slide them back and forth. So for example, if you have on the one side an image of maybe a town before, maybe a fire came through, and then on the other side is the after picture, then it looks like one neighborhood, and depending on where your slider is, it will show you the same area burned and unburned. Anyway, to move this along, let me click on browser files, and I am going to add in another picture. I'll just click add on here. All right, so this right here is another beach at sunset. Okay. So this will allow us to look at some of the other options that we have to configure this. So in between here, we can choose if we would like to get a slow or a regular fade in between. So the fade one is the default. So let the first one just let them at the default, and this one will turn into a slow fade. So hopefully we can then see the difference once we test it out. Also here, clicking here, we can change the layout if we want to. So if instead of the sidebar being docked, we want to have it floating, we can change that right now. And so let's publish the story and see what it looks like. Okay, the map, the gallery. And so here we have the video. And then as we keep scrolling through, it sort of transitions into the beach during sunset. And then here we have another beach at sunset. I'm not sure if you noticed that the transition is slightly different. So this one here should be a fairly fast transition, and the next one should be just a little bit slower. Okay. So for the next part, we're going to create a tour with some places around the world, and in essence, just a map that kind of zooms and keeps track of where different pictures are taken. So let's go ahead and below here. This doesn't work because I need to actually be editing my story to be able to add new items to it. Okay, so down to the bottom we go. And after our sidecar, we'll continue our story. And so in this case, we're going to add in a map tour. So there's a couple of different options. If you have photos that have already been geo-tagged, you can use those, and then it will just look at those tags to figure out where it is and automatically, put it in the right spot on the map. You can start with a feature service that already has points in it, or you can build it from scratch, which is what we will do right here. And so again, it will give you the option of your layout. So let's pick the one on the left, and then let's click on next. I'd like it to be map focused, so that means that the map takes up most of the space, and then I will click done. Okay, so I'm going back to the pixie.org and find some more cool pictures. So my tour consists out of a stop in Amsterdam. I mean, being Dutch, of course, I have to go there. So I like this picture here. And I'll just go ahead and save that. Save image as. And I'll just call that Amsterdam. All right, then I'd like to get one in the Opera House in Sydney. Sydney, Australia. So I'll pick this one. I mean, you pick whatever you want, of course, or just pick whole different towns or cities. So again, I'm going to save this picture, and I'll just call this Sydney. And finally, I'll just pick one more. And Let's pick Mount Rushmore. And I'll download that. Okay, so now that I have my pictures, I'll follow the instructions here. I'm going to add an image or a video. So I'll pick the one in Amsterdam first. Okay. And then I'll click add on that. Okay. My title will be Amsterdam. And then I need to tell it where it is. So to make it easier for me, I'll just type it in the search key. And if I wanted to, I could zoom in or zoom out a little bit more, but honestly, I think this is pretty good. So I am going to add this to my map. And then click on add location. I must say, most of those story maps, the way they are designed, they're pretty intuitive on how to continue and sort of add more content to it. But hopefully this class will sort of either show you that it is very doable and just kind of give you an insight on what the different possibilities are. So let's go ahead and add a new slide. So in this case, I need to add in Sydney, Australia. That's this one here. And I'll click on add. I need to give it a title. And then add the location. All right, I'll add this one to my map, add the location, and that leaves me only one more. So I'll add in one more slide. This one is Mount Rushmore. All right, add that in. Give it a name. Add the location. And luckily you can search by Mount Rushmore, otherwise I'd have a lot of trouble finding it. I'll add it to my map and then add the location. So that should do it for my, my map tour. I see there's a couple of things coming in through the chat. Let me take a look at that. Oh, Jeff, thank you. Thank you for adding that. You're limited to a maximum of 35 slides in the slide story map. So luckily a fair amount, but I can see running into problems if, for example, you're working with the state parks and there's more than 35. Yes, and definitely check out the story map that Jeff did. And also, hopefully this is the one that you're going to be talking about in about 2 weeks on April 27th when we do our state workshop. And then the Trails of the Coeur d'Alenes, also a very nice map. Can you add an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document? That is a really good question. Let's give it a try here. So obviously there's not an option right here. I wonder to what extent you're able to embed it, or if this is, for example, a spreadsheet in Google Docs. I wonder if you might be able to put it in there. So maybe you're able to put it into a web page that you can then add. But let me go ahead and make a note so that I can see if I can get you an answer. And then another person asked if you have an XY of the image, can you use that to add the location? And I think that Esri in some cases has been pretty good, that if you are actually looking for, let's see, so here we'll add an image. I'll just pick one. And then we need to add that and then find the location. And let's say that location is just a coordinates. It will actually do that too. But in this case, if you have like a whole bunch of them, what I would do is actually turn it into, you know, like a layer, like a hosted feature class or just a feature service. And then use one of the other three options. So we started from scratch, but there's also an option to start out with, you know, a layer itself. Okay, well, thank you for the questions. And thank you, Jeff, for the additional information. So with that, let me just cancel out of this one here. Let's publish it and let's see what we have so far. Okay, so most interesting now would be the new maps that we put in. Okay, so here we are. So we got Amsterdam here, and as I scroll down, it will take us to Sydney, Australia. And this is when we were setting this up. We could have set the custom zoom, turned it off, and basically just zoomed in a little bit tighter. And let's see, finally here is Mount Rushmore. Okay. Okay, thank you, Jeff. He just mentions that when he did the Trail of the Coeur d'Alenes, which again is one that is really worthwhile checking out. I believe it is the bike trail, right, Jeff, that you did there? So you created a point layer and then associated that with each picture.
Yes, it's the Trail of Coeur d'Alene. It's the bike trail that traverses the panhandle of North Idaho and so forth. And basically the process that I went through is I created the trail has several, you know, trailheads and waysides and all that kind of stuff. So I made points of those and then associated a picture with each point. And then we created the app and so forth. It was done about around the time period of 2012, and it was kind of a real chore to do it because you had to save two separate images. One was like a really small image and one was a really big image, and it just kind of went on from there. But the new story map templates makes it so much easier to create story maps on the fly and very quickly.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you. Okay, so let me see where we left off. The overall design and navigation. So let's go back and edit our story. And let's start off by clicking on design. So design the cover part, that refers to this picture over here. And so there's different ways that you can organize that. So you can see here the picture got bigger and the text itself is sort of embedded in the picture. I really like that, so I'm going to keep it like that. But there's different options that you have there. The one thing that I really recommend is that you turn on the navigation, because this is one of those story maps that just keeps on scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And so the navigation is going to be real nice to help people find just the right spot and get there real soon. There are different themes. So right now we are in the summit theme, but clicking that, it sort of changes the whole feel. It changes the fonts and everything that is there. When you click browse themes, it basically takes you your own library of themes. And since I don't have any themes set up, that there's not much to look at just yet. So pick the one you like. I'm going to stick with the summit for here. If you want, you can also update and include the logo for your agency. And then let's work on the navigation. So I like to typically, leave that so for last, but you can also work on this as you go along. So what that means, in essence, we're going to put some text on top of each of the sections in this story map. For some reason, I always have trouble finding my little plus in between here to add some text. So what we'll do is we'll put it in underneath because we can add more content there, and then just we'll swap it around so that the text goes on top. So just underneath the first map, the earthquakes, click on plus, and we're going to add in some text. So the first part of our story map are the earthquake maps. And to have this show up in the navigation, this needs to be of type heading. So that will make it big. And maybe you also notice that right away it appears right along the top here. Okay. So to get it all the way on top, let me just click right here on the waffles, and we can, in essence, just move that map underneath. So now when we are at the top, it actually moved the first heading to the very top. I don't know why it is so hard to put an extra, item in there, but anyway, that's a nice little trick. Put it in below and then just swap them. Okay, so let's put in a heading above the gallery. So I'm going to go ahead and add more text. To make it work for my navigation, it needs to be of type heading, and that's going to be my gallery. So going down, my next section here is going to be the live volcano in Iceland. So I'll just put in the text, change it to my heading, the live volcano in Iceland. And you can just tell it just keeps popping up along the top there. And then I have my the map with all the different places. So just put in another text, the heading, and have it appear along the top. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So let's publish it. And now I should be able to navigate quite quickly between different portions of my story map. Okay, so then there's one more thing that I would like to do. I'll click back on Edit Story. And I would like to preview this. So this is one of the parts that I do like. Because as I mentioned earlier, I find this is the story map that works best, trying to make it fit on large devices and small devices alike. So here it will show you what it looks like on a desktop, but also on a tablet or even a mobile phone. So in essence, you can tell that all the pictures are now organized like on top of each other instead of like next to each other. So this is the one I would recommend using, this story map template, if you are working with mobile devices, or you're working on an app that that just a lot of people are going to look at on a mobile device. Okay. I believe that's about it for this one here. So then let's go take a look at some of the other types of stories, unless there's any questions at this point. If not, then let's go ahead and go back to our content. And you can get there by clicking on content along the top. Or if you've lost this page altogether, you may need to go back to arcgisonline.com and then you may have to log in again. Hopefully not, but if you have to, you have to. And so at this point, let's just go and create a basic story map. So click on create. And if we clicked on story map, it will basically take us back to the same template. But if we click on configurable apps, we are presented with a couple of choices for different story maps. So on the left-hand side, the second one from the top, it shows you the different story maps that are available. So there's just a few of them we'll go through. We'll start out with the basic, and then I'll show you some examples of the ones that we're not looking at. But let's go ahead and select the basic and click on create web app. So let's see, I can tell I'm doing this backwards from the instructions. So let's follow the instructions instead. So we are on the content. Let's go to the living atlas. And instead of creating another map sort of from scratch like we did with the earthquakes, we'll just go ahead and use an existing map. So there's a map for severe weather. So let's do a search on that. And you can tell that this is a web map. So with that, open this map up. So I'll just click on open in map viewer. Go ahead and share that. I'm not going to actually share this with anybody, but on this button I have the option to create a web app, which essentially brings us back to the same screen we were at earlier, except if I go this route, it will actually know which map to grab to start building our story map. So build a story map, and we'll just go to the story map basic and create the web app. All right, so just to distinguish it here, I'm just gonna add in that this is for my story map class. And I will also add in my tag for temp, so I know later on that it's safe to delete this one. Okay, so that looks done. Now, this story map will go a whole lot faster than the previous one. The previous one, what was it, like 77 steps? Here will be done in 12. So for a lot of those configurable map apps, there's not that many things that you can set or change. For most story maps, there is, because you can keep adding content to it, but this one is really very limited. So in general, you can choose to display a title or not and a subtitle and set that. For the theme, you can, change the background. You can change the title text color. So you have some options there, but really not a lot. Under options, you can choose to include a legend or not. And let's just include the legend and just have it open when people first start. And then for search, well, do you want to have a search bar or not? That's about it. So once that is set, just click on save. And then on launch. So one thing I would recommend when I go online and I look at some of the mapping links for some of the agencies that I have seen, quite often they'll just include you know, just like a web map, I would say just going through a couple of extra steps and turning it into an app, or like this story map here, I think presents like it gives a much nicer, more professional kind of appearance, and you can see how easy it is to go those couple of extra steps to actually create it like this. So with that, let's go ahead and build another story map. So from this case, again, we're going to go to the content along the top of our screen, and I'll probably have to go back a little bit in my browser to find the screen where I can actually get to my content. And we'll just go back to the same map as we did before. So we'll go do the same steps. I'll go back through the living atlas. I'll do a search for severe weather. And in this case, we cannot, you know, grab just from our content the map we made earlier, because we never actually saved this map. It's just pointing to this living atlas map. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and open it up in the map viewer again. We'll click on share. We'll just create another web app, build a story map, and in this case, we'll just use the story map cascade. We'll go ahead and create it. I'll just add in that this is for my story map. I'll just put in my tag for temp, and done. So in some ways, this one is similar to the very first newer story map template, in that we can keep adding in like new content and allow people to scroll down and see more and more things. Let's click on add your image or video. And I think it would be really nice to put in, let me see here, find a weather-related picture on pixie.org. So let me just put in, maybe there's a cool lightning picture. I mean, this is pretty dramatic. So I'll just go ahead and save that image, add it to my other collection. We've done that. Let's see which one we're working on. This is where your WebEx is like covering up. Okay, this is the one we're at. Okay, so we got the picture. Then let's click on, let's see where we get the picture. We're not on ArcGIS. We want to link to content. Was that what we wanted to do? Let me see here. The new browser, go to pixie.org. You can make changes to the map size and click on the pencil. Oh, let me see here. Let me just, okay, there we go. I should have been here. Okay, so here we can make changes to the map. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. You can make changes to the map size and how you would like to organize that right here. When you, for the appearance, you can choose to have it be interactive or not interactive. And I really like to have the legend be visible right there. Okay, yeah, very good. Okay, so that's where we want to be. Then at the bottom here, let's add in another immersive page. So I have another YouTube video that I would like to link to. It's always nice to have videos in here if that fits within your work. So I need to go down and it's somewhere around here. There we go. My video should be posted underneath your slide in the PDF that I sent. So we'll just add in the media and then we can link to content and put that in. So if you want, you can add in some text that you have there. Okay, so below that, let's add in another immersive content. So in this case, for the add media, let's click on ArcGIS. And I think it would be really cool to add in a scene. So that's like a 3D map. We'll look for it in ArcGIS Online. And let's do a search for Boise foothills and see if we can find some nice content there. Okay, so now that we've added in a couple of different items, let's go ahead and see what this story looks like. Okay, I wonder if I forgot to save the last scene. But, the next one I want to show you is the journal. And then we'll take a little break from creating our own. So let me go back and to the content, home, content. And for this one, we will actually start it like right from here. So on the content pane, click on create. In this case, we'll go to configurable apps. When we build the story, we'll see the same ones we had earlier, and we can select our story map journal. We'll give it some titles. So my first map journal. I'll call it version 2 since I created the first one to set up this class. Temporary, and let's click done. So again, we can choose if we would like to have the side panel fixed or if it's going to be floating. I'll just go ahead and pick the one that is fixed. So let's give it a name, and my first map journal version 2. That kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but that will work right here. We'll click on the blue arrow to get it set up. And so we can, as you can see, we have like a main stage, the bigger part, and then the side panel. And so for each one of them, you basically just pick the content for both the side and the main panel, and then you'll move on to the next slide. So for the first one, for the main panel, in this case, let's just go ahead and select the map that we created earlier, the earthquakes one. And then I'll hit next, and it will ask me to put some text on the left-hand side. Now notice that here too, you can actually include pictures, you can include video. So this is another one of those templates where all the videos need to be linked. So in my case, I ended up setting up like a YouTube channel, so I can upload my videos there, and then from here, a link to my YouTube page. In our case, I'm just going to go put some text here. So this was our earthquake map. Let's add that in. And then as you go on, you can just add in your next section. So in this case, if we wanted to, we can upload one of our images. For images, it will ask you how you would like to display that. So that's the main stage. Next, it's going to ask us about the sidebar. We need to give it a title. So that would be volcano. And let's add that in. All right. So let me go ahead and save this story map. And then I can go ahead and view it. So you can see that each one of those slides is represented by a dot on the left. And so you can just go up and down and scroll through it. So it's basically just slides that are stacked on top of each other. So in the past, this has been like quite a popular story map, and I've used it quite a few times. So let's see. So we've done our journal. Let me go ahead and actually show you some of the other story maps, and then there's one that I still would like to show you. Let me go to this slide here. Nope, not the first one. This one. Okay. So there's actually a really cool gallery on Esri's website. Let me see here. I wonder if I can just open it up in a different page. So I think it's worthwhile just for you to get ideas. On the left-hand side, it will show you the different types of story maps that you can make, and then it will just give you a whole list of examples of that particular type of story map. So in our case, what I would like to do is go back to my PowerPoint slide and show you an example of a map tour. So that's right stuck down there. Anytime today. Maybe while that one is loading up, maybe I can go ahead and also start a different one loading up. The story map shortlist. Yeah, I like this one. So basically on the left-hand side, it sort of shows you pictures that are associated with different locations. So in this case, there's different cleanup groups in Canada that go around and clean up coastlines. And so basically they've started to take pictures of weird things that they have found, actually a message in a bottle as well, and and where they found it. So I'm not sure what you do if you find an entire lawnmower in a creek somewhere. And let me see if the other one has popped up. So that's this one here, where in essence, based on where you are on the map, it just shows you different wildlife that you can see there. But again, it's really quite easy to build some really amazing content using those story maps. So I think there's one more that I wanted to show you before we make our last story map, which is the map swipe story map. So this would be the example of a fire going through, in this case, in Sonoma County. And this is the type of map now that you can also quite easily embed in the first newer story map template. It was one of the options was to put in a swipe. So this is what it does. It takes two photos of two maps, one on the left, one on the right, and it will just zoom to the same area and just show you the before and after using a swipe, or however you would like to show that. Doesn't have to be before or after. It could be maybe two characteristics of the same area. So those are really quite nice. So with that, the last one that I wanted to show you is the story map series, and I'll show you why I like it. Okay, so on content, we'll just go ahead and we'll create one more story map. Go to configurable apps, build your story map, and then the story map series. Let's create the web app. And I'm just going to call it my last story for today. In my case, version 2. Just put in my temporary tag here and click on done. So there's different ways that you can show this. I really like the tabbed one, but you can do a side accordion or have it bulleted. And let's start. So my last story for today is a good name. And what I would like to do, and why I particularly like this one, is that this is a good app to basically show like a series of apps. And so what we're going to do is we'll start putting the story maps we made earlier, and we'll just put them together in one app. So if you have, a series of apps or a series of maps that you just want to show together as one package, then I really, really like this particular template. So for the first tab, I will pick let's see what I called the first one. Oh, that was my first story. I think that's what we called it. My first story. I am going to put in a web page because every one of my stories are really web pages. Luckily, I still have my tab open, so I can just grab it right here. I'll do it without my preview in it. Then I'll go back to my latest story map, put it in, configure it. I think fill is good. And you can see that I was actually able to put my story map inside another story map. Similarly, if you wanted to add in a tab and put in like a dashboard or any other apps that you've created, that's a great way to do it. I don't necessarily need more text. I'll just go ahead and click on add, and we built like a severe weather story map. So let's go ahead and I'll click on web page again, and I bet it's one of those that I created. I'll just copy and paste my URL and put it right in there. So once I've added everything I wanted in there. I'll just go ahead, save it. If I wanted to, I can share it. For the settings, you can, pick out the layout, your site accordion, and we talked about that earlier. Different layout options, map options if you want to see an overview map or not. You can choose between a couple of different themes and add in a header to your story. So I changed the theme here. Let's go ahead, save it again. And then I can view my story, and if this is good enough to share with the world, I can go ahead and edit it again and share it. So I think this is my my scoop for today. I know it's a little bit shorter, but hopefully you feel like you've picked up enough that you can confidently just give it a try and start playing around with this. Hopefully you can see too that this is a lot of fun. I mean, I can see, it's just fun just to spend time and just find the right pictures and trying to make it look good and just produce like a nice professionally looking like product that people, a lot of them frankly don't expect GIS can actually do for you. So with that, let me just stop sharing my screen. Oh, no, I still have a couple more slides for you. Almost let you go there, but not yet. Let's just go ahead and minimize that. I just want to make a plug here for the learnarcgis.com, which will take you to this hub site. There's some really good short little videos on there. The next training is going to be on April 29, which is later on this month. Also, I have been posting all the recordings for the trainings that we've done on our website, and you can also find it on YouTube. If you go to our website, here is the link right here, or if you just go to gis.idaho.gov, there is a link to go straight to the GIS services, so that will take you to this page, and then you can find it right there. The links are here. And you can also download those workbooks there. So with that, does anybody have any questions? All right. Let me stop sharing this. And so, well, thank you all for coming. We'll talk to you next time. Bye. You're welcome, Sarah.